Listen carefully. What I am about to share with you is not a tale of luck, nor is it the story of chance. It is the demonstration of divine law, a law that governs every heartbeat, every fortune, every unfolding of your life. I did not win the lottery once. I did not win it twice. I won it 6 times, and each victory was not born of luck, but of law. There are no accidents in this world. The patterns of your life echo the patterns of your thought, and the words you speak, whether whispered in secret or proclaimed aloud, are the blueprints from which your world is built. When I first set my intention, I did not pray to some distant power, nor did I plead with fate to grant me favor. I stood within myself and declared, "It is done." I spoke with the authority of one who knows that imagination creates reality. And as the nights passed, as the days unfolded, the world began to rearrange itself in ways that no man could call coincidence. 6 times the numbers aligned. 6 times the so-called impossible became real. But it was never about the numbers. It was about alignment, the perfect union between belief and word, between imagination and feeling, between the invisible cause and the visible effect. You see, I discovered that when you speak from conviction, not hope, the universe bends to your command. Every spoken word becomes a seed, and once it is planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious, it must grow. Tonight I will give you the same formula I used, the same 4 words that opened the floodgates of abundance in my own life. But before we continue, there is something you must do. For this law is not passive, it requires declaration. In my day, I stood before a small circle of students in a dimly lit hall. I made them speak their readiness aloud, so that the vibration of their words would reach the heavens themselves. And now, though you may be listening across time, I ask the same of you. Declare your readiness. Do not whisper it timidly within. Speak it into the air, with faith that the unseen hears you. Say aloud, "I am prepared to receive." Yes, now. Feel the vibration of those words as they leave your lips. Feel the quiet certainty they awaken within you. For that declaration is your permission slip to the universe, a signal that you are ready to move from wishing to knowing. The law is no respecter of persons. It answers all who believe. And tonight, it will answer you. Now let us begin. There is a secret I taught my students many years ago. A truth so simple, and yet so easily forgotten. To bring anything into being, you must live in the end. Now what does that mean? It means to feel, in this very moment, as though the thing you desire has already come to pass. Not to wish for it, not to long for it, but to rest in the quiet satisfaction that it is already so. You see, faith is not blind, it is vision, the inner certainty that precedes the outer fact. To live in the end is to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, to become, in consciousness, the one who already possesses what you seek. When I first practiced this law, I was living in a small flat in New York, barely able to afford a decent coat for the winter. But in imagination, I lived elsewhere. I felt the warmth of success long before it came. I walked the streets as one who had already arrived. And so, my outer world, obedient as ever, reshaped itself to reflect the new image I held within. Do not pretend, do not force belief. Simply feel the naturalness of your fulfilled desire. If you wish to be wealthy, do not think of wealth as something apart from you. Think from it. See the world from the eyes of one who already has it. How would you walk? How would you rise in the morning? How would you speak to others? You are the actor, and the stage is your own mind. To live in the end is to play the role completely, so fully that the old you fades away like yesterday's dream. You must not wait for evidence. The evidence will appear only after you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is where so many falter. They glance at their bank account, at their circumstances, and they say, "It hasn't happened yet." But in that very moment, they step out of the state of fulfillment and return to the old identity, the one who lacks, the one who waits. Hear me well. Your senses will lie to you in the beginning. They will insist that nothing has changed. But the invisible world, the true world, is already rearranging itself the moment you assume the new state. So persist. Do not measure your progress by appearances. Do not dig up the seed to see if it grows. Instead, close your eyes tonight and dwell in the scene that would imply your wish fulfilled. Hear the words of congratulations. Feel the weight of the reward in your hands. See the faces of those who rejoice with you. Let it feel so real, so familiar, that you fall asleep in that feeling. And when you wake, carry it with you into the day. Do not look for signs. Be the sign. The world mirrors the state you occupy. If you live in the end will live through you. So tonight, before you close your eyes, do not think of your desire. Think from it. Rest as the one who already has what they once sought. That, my dear friend, is the secret of living in the end. When I first began teaching this law, many would come to me and say, "Neville, you were lucky." They believed that chance, mere coincidence, had favored me. But I tell you now, with absolute certainty, there is no such thing as luck. There is only law. Everything in your world, the friends you meet, the fortune you hold, the words that come to your lips, all of it flows from one cause only, your consciousness. Chance is the name the ignorant give to unseen law. To call something luck is to confess that one does not yet understand the principle at work. The truth is far simpler, yet infinitely more powerful. You are the cause of every effect you witness. Your world is a mirror, reflecting the content of your inner speech. What you whisper to yourself in the silence of your own mind becomes the decree that shapes the stage of your life. The universe does not hear what you wish for. It hears what you believe and what you declare to be true. When your inner dialogue says, "I am always struggling, I never have enough," you command the world to obey that pattern. When you say instead, "I am provided for, I am abundant, I am guided," that too becomes a command, and the outer world must arrange itself to fulfill it. You see, my friend, there are no idle words. Every thought you repeat carries a vibration, and every vibration seeks form. You are speaking worlds into being with every passing moment. Now, let us unlearn the old habit of thinking in terms of chance. There is no good fortune and bad fortune. There is only assumption, and the state you assume determines what you call into experience. You are not a leaf tossed by the wind of fate. You are the wind itself. You are not the dice upon the table. You are the hand that casts them, and the law that decides how they fall. So let us begin a small exercise together, one that I practiced myself when I needed to still the noise of doubt. For the next 60 seconds, close your eyes, become aware of your breath, and in that breath, feel the quiet certainty that there is no outside power. All that you seek, all that you fear, exists within your own awareness. Do not try to think. Do not try to fix anything. Simply observe the rhythm of your breathing. Inhale slowly, and as you exhale, silently affirm within yourself, "I am the cause." Again, "I am the cause." Feel how still the mind becomes when you rest in that knowing. This silence is not emptiness. It is the womb of creation. From this stillness, all things are born. Remember this, my friend. You are never the victim of chance. You are the author of causation, and every word you speak within becomes the script your world must follow. There are, my friend, 4 words, simple, ordinary, to the ear. Yet when spoken from the depths of conviction, they hold the power to alter the very fabric of your being. I will not reveal them just yet, for words without understanding are but empty shells. Before a man can wield power, he must know why that power responds to him. When I first stumbled upon this secret, I was living in the midst of what others might have called struggle. The world seemed uncertain, unstable, but something within me whispered that reality itself was not built upon circumstance. It was built upon state. And so I searched, not outside myself, but within, for the key that changes the state from which all things flow. That key, as I discovered, could be turned by nothing more than 4 simple words. 4 words that, when impressed upon the subconscious mind, lift a man from despair to delight, from poverty to plenty, from doubt to divine assurance. Yet to hand them to you now, without first preparing the soil of your understanding, would be to scatter pearls before the mind still chained to reason. You see, these words must not be repeated merely. They must be embodied. They must rise from belief, not from curiosity. So I ask that you listen carefully to what follows. For every principle, I will soon unfold the law of assumption, the art of living in the end, the sacred act of feeling, will form the foundation upon which those 4 words shall rest. Only when your heart grasps why they work will they open the gates. They are meant to open, so be patient with me for a while. The time for revelation will come soon enough. But first, we must build together the inner understanding that allows a word to become flesh. Remember, a word spoken without awareness is mere sound, but a word spoken from consciousness is creation itself. And when at last I speak those 4 words aloud, you will not simply hear them, you will feel them. You will know, deep within, that something unseen has already begun to move in your favor. So hold this promise close. What's for now? 4 words that change the state at its root. We shall return to them soon. But before that moment comes, you must first understand the law that governs all, for without it, words are powerless. There is a law, subtle yet absolute, that governs every creation in this world, the law of reversibility. It states that if a certain cause can produce a particular effect, then that effect, once assumed in feeling, can in turn produce its cause. If joy follows the receiving of a gift, then joy, felt deeply and sincerely, must call forth the gift itself. If gratitude is the natural emotion that comes after a desire has been fulfilled, then to feel gratitude before its appearance is to summon that fulfillment into being. You see, my friend, feeling is the bridge. Whatever you would experience in the outer world must first be felt within. And once the inner state is achieved, the outer world has no choice but to conform. When I first understood this law, I no longer prayed as a beggar. I prayed as one who already possessed. I did not say, please, let this come. I said, thank you, that it has already come. For gratitude, felt in advance, is not a polite gesture. It is the proof of possession. It is the emotional signature of completion. When you feel thankful for something you cannot yet see, you are affirming that it already exists in the unseen. And the unseen, being obedient, must reveal itself in form. Let us do a small exercise together, as I did with my students long ago. Sit quietly for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. Let the breath come naturally. Now imagine that the thing you desire most, whatever it may be, has already been received. Perhaps it is the news of success, the letter in your hand, the prize you once dreamed of. See it there, not before you, but within you. And now, take a gentle breath in. Exhale slowly. And as you exhale, allow your body to release, to let go completely, as though all tension has melted away. Now, with that quiet relief in your chest, let out a soft sigh, or sigh of completion, as one who says, ah, it is done. And under your breath, whisper softly, thank you. Do not force the words. Let them rise naturally from the feeling itself. Let the gratitude flow through you, not as hope, but as the gentle certainty of having. This is the true act of creation. Not striving, not pleading, but resting in the emotion of fulfillment. If the feeling of accomplishment follows the event, then to feel accomplishment now is to summon the event itself. Every desire in your heart is waiting for that one signal, the feeling that says, it is already mine. So remember, each time you breathe out that quiet sigh, each time you whisper thank you from the stillness of your heart, you are turning the key of reversibility. You are commanding the unseen to bring forth its reflection. Feel it now. The warmth of gratitude, the peace that follows completion. That, my friend, is the secret posture of all answered prayers. Now, my friend, we approach the sacred doorway between the seen and the unseen. That delicate threshold I have often called the state akin to sleep, or sats. It is in this state, neither fully awake nor yet asleep, that the imagination moves without resistance. Here, your words become living things, your feelings become law, and your assumptions are impressed upon the deepest layer of mind. Let us prepare together, as I once guided my students in the quiet halls of New York, late in the evening, when the world outside was hushed, and only the inner world remained alive. First, find a place where you may sit or lie down without disturbance. If you are seated, rest your hands gently upon your lap. If you choose to lie down, let your arms fall naturally beside you. The posture should be comfortable but alert, for we are not seeking sleep, only its edge. Now close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the surface that supports you. Let the breath flow easily. Slow, rhythmic, unhurried. Inhale softly through the nose, and exhale as though releasing all tension back into the air. As your body grows still, turn your gaze inward, not with the eyes of flesh, but with the eyes of mind. You will notice that the darkness behind your eyelids is not empty. It is alive, receptive, it listens. Now bring before this inner sight a single short scene, not a long story, not a complicated vision, just one simple moment that would imply your wish fulfilled. Perhaps it is the feeling of holding a letter in your hand, or hearing a voice say, "Congratulations." Perhaps it is a handshake, or the sound of laughter after success. Keep it brief. Let it loop naturally, again and again. And most importantly, give it a tone of reality. Do not watch it from afar. Enter it, feel the scene as if it were happening now. Let every sense participate. The texture beneath your fingertips, the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of satisfaction in your chest. If the mind wanders, bring it gently back to this single moment. You are not imagining for imagination's sake. You are planting, and what you plant here, in this stillness, must one day appear in the outer world. Now, in a few moments after this preparation, we shall fix the 4 words within this very state. We will speak them not from the surface of the mind, but from the depth where creation truly begins. Remain relaxed. Remain open. Let the outer world fade completely. For after this preparation, we will enter the sacred act itself, and seal the 4 words in sats. Now that the mind is still, now that the outer noise has faded into nothing, you are ready for the words. The 4 words that changed my life. The 4 words that turned desire into fact, that bridged the invisible to the visible, are these: it is already done. Say them softly within yourself. Do not rush. Let each word sink into you like a stone, sinking into deep water. Again, it is already done. When you speak these words from conviction, you announce to creation that your desire has crossed the line from possibility into being. You no longer ask, you no longer wait, you are. You see, when you claim that something is already done, you step into identity. You become the one who has received. And once identity changes, all else must follow. The world cannot resist the man who knows himself fulfilled. Life becomes a bridge of incidents, each event unfolding naturally, as though it had always been meant to be. No struggle, no force, just the effortless sequence of divine order. This is how these words work. First, identity. Then, the bridge. And then, evidence, the outer reflection of the inner truth. Now let us move together through the ritual, as I once guided my students by candlelight. Close your eyes once more. Let the body rest in perfect stillness. Your breath is slow, rhythmic, like the tide of a quiet sea. Inhale through the nose. Gently hold for a moment, and exhale through the mouth, releasing all effort. Now bring to mind a scene after the fulfillment of your desire, the moment when it is already accomplished. You have received the news, the letter, the reward. You have lived the moment of triumph. Do not imagine the act of receiving. Imagine after the receiving, the joy, the laughter, the sigh of completion. Feel the texture of the world in that scene, the light, the sound, the stillness that follows accomplishment. Hold it, not as something you wish to happen, but as something that has happened. Now, as you dwell in that feeling, let the words rise quietly from within you, not as a chant, not as repetition, but as truth. It is already done. Say it again, gently. It is already done. Feel the peace that follows those words. Notice how the body relaxes, how the breath softens, how the mind no longer reaches forward. There is nothing left to reach for. You have already arrived. Now let us deepen this state even more. As you breathe in, silently affirm, I am the winner. As you exhale, whisper softly, it is already done. Again, inhale, I am the winner. Exhale, it is already done. Let the rhythm of these words align with the rhythm of your breath. They are not two phrases, but one truth seen from two sides, the identity and the seal. I am the winner. The assumption. It is already done. The completion. Continue this rhythm for a few moments, feeling the warmth of certainty spread through the body. With each breath, you move further away from doubt, further away from waiting, and deeper into knowing. Now, release all words. Rest in the silence that follows. That silence is creation fulfilled. Do not reach for proof, do not look for signs. They will come on their own, as they must. You have declared the truth, and the truth has heard you. From this moment forward, walk as one who knows the end is complete. Carry this quiet assurance into every hour that follows. And when you rise tomorrow, let one simple phrase guide your every step. It is done. One of the greatest challenges my students faced, and perhaps the same challenge you face now, was learning to ignore appearances. They would say to me, Neville, I have done the work. I have imagined the end. I have felt it real. But nothing has changed. And I would smile, for I had heard those very words from my own lips many years before. You see, the moment you plant a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up the next morning to check if it grows. You trust the soil. You trust the unseen process. You know that life works invisibly before it shows itself in form. Creation follows the same law. Once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, once you have declared it is already done, you must resist the temptation to look for signs. That constant checking, that anxious watching, is the spiritual equivalent of pulling up the seed, and the seed cannot grow when disturbed. Faith, true faith, is not hoping that something will happen. It is knowing that it already has, and resting in that knowing. Let me tell you a small story from my own life. It was many years ago, when I was offered a position that at first was denied to me. I had desired to teach in a particular hall in New York, a place I loved deeply, but the management informed me that the schedule was full, that the opportunity had passed. I thanked them politely, then went home, and entered the silence. There, in imagination, I stood once more upon that stage. I looked out upon the familiar faces, felt the warmth of the lights upon me, heard the quiet hum of the audience awaiting my words, and within myself I said, it is already done. For the next few days, nothing appeared to change. If anything, the outer evidence became less promising. Another speaker was announced in my place, and I might have said, it has failed. But I did not. I refused to be moved by appearances. I held to the inner scene as the only reality. Then quite suddenly, a message came. The other speaker had withdrawn, and I was invited to take his place. But the story did not end there. The new arrangement, unexpected as it was, brought a far larger audience than before and opened the way to opportunities I could not have imagined for myself. That, my friend, is what I call the bridge of incidents. Life rearranges itself in ways that the reasoning mind cannot foresee. What seemed like delay or denial was simply part of the perfect sequence. The bridge was being built, one invisible plank at a time. When things appear to go wrong, when doors seem to close, do not despair. Do not say, the law has failed me. Say instead, this too is part of the bridge. For sometimes the shortest path between 2 points is not the straight line you imagine. The law knows the perfect route, the one that leads not only to your desire, but to your growth, your expansion, your understanding. So the next time you feel doubt creeping in, remember the seed. Remember that silence beneath the soil. and know that the very moment you spoke your word, creation began. If you can hold steady in faith, if you can resist the urge to check, to worry, to doubt, then the bridge will complete itself. And when you cross it, you will see that every seeming delay was simply divine precision. So I tell you now, do not dig up the seed. Do not demand to see before you believe. Believe, and you will see. For faith is not waiting. Faith is no waiting. Faith is knowing that what you asked for is already finding its way to you, in the most perfect manner imaginable. There is a sacred art I practiced often, an art that few truly understand, and I called it revision. It is the power to rewrite the past, to take a moment that once caused you pain or loss and give it a new meaning, a new outcome. Now, to the reasoning mind, this may sound impossible. How can one change what has already happened? But I tell you, the past lives only as a pattern in consciousness, and consciousness is ever present. When you change the pattern, you change its influence upon your present life. You see, nothing truly exists outside of awareness. The event you call yesterday is not some distant shadow lying behind you. It is a memory held now, in this living moment of mind. And because it exists here, it can be transformed here. There was a time when I too believed myself bound by the mistakes and misfortunes of the past. But once I discovered the law, I realized that every so-called failure was nothing more than an unrevised scene, waiting for the light of consciousness to revisit it. So tonight, I would like to guide you through this sacred act of revision. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the body rest. Allow the breath to find its own rhythm. Now bring to mind a memory, a moment that still stirs discomfort within you. Perhaps a time when you were rejected, when something precious was lost, when chance seemed cruel and fortune turned away. Do not dwell in the pain of it. Simply see the scene before you, as though you are the author returning to edit your own play. Look upon it calmly, as a craftsman, not as a victim. Now imagine that same event unfolding differently. See the faces soften, the words spoken in kindness instead of cruelty. See yourself receiving the letter you longed for, or hearing the words, "You have been chosen." If it was a loss of money, see yourself counting it joyfully. If it was an opportunity denied, see the hand extended to you, offering what was once withheld. Let the new scene play naturally, not forced, not exaggerated, simply as it should have been. Feel the warmth of relief, the soft smile that comes when everything has turned out right. And now, as you hold that new image in mind, say quietly within yourself, "This is how it happened." Yes, say it again. With quiet assurance, "This is how it happened." You are not pretending. You are recreating. For creation is not bound by time. What you accept as real in imagination is lifted out of the shadows of what was and placed into the living reality of what is. Now let the scene fade gently, leaving only the feeling behind, the feeling that the past has blessed you, that it has always worked in your favor. This is the secret of revision. You do not erase the past, you redeem it. You turn sorrow into wisdom, loss into gain, and failure into the very soil of triumph. Each night before sleep, choose one moment from your day that could have gone better, and in imagination, make it right. Do this faithfully, and you will discover that your tomorrows begin to change in kind. For when the past is healed in imagination, the present must reflect the healing. You are the potter, and time itself is the clay. It takes the shape of the hands that mold it. So remember, no experience is final until you declare it so. And through revision, you can declare that every event of your life has served your good. Now rest a moment in this new knowing, that nothing is lost, and that every memory can be rewritten by the hand of awareness. There is another truth I must share with you. One that startled even me when I first discovered it. Every person you meet, every face that crosses your path, every voice that speaks to you is yourself, in expression. I used to believe, as most do, that the world existed apart from me, a collection of strangers, each moving by their own will. But I learned that there is no other. There is only the self, appearing as many, All that you behold, though it seems external, is but the mirror of your own inner state. When you speak to a man at the counter, when you hand your ticket to the clerk, when you ask for what you desire, you are speaking to a reflection of your own assumption. If you expect kindness, you will receive kindness. If you expect delay, you will meet delay. The world cannot help but echo the tone of your belief. I recall a time when I stood in a crowded shop, waiting to be served. The man behind the counter was weary, short-tempered, impatient. I could have reacted in kind, but instead, I paused within myself and quietly affirmed, I see him blessed, and I am blessed. I imagined him smiling, his mood lightened, his service swift and pleasant. And within moments, the man changed before my eyes. His tone softened, his face relaxed, and he spoke to me as if I were an old friend. Now was it he who changed, or was it I? It was both, for we are not two. The change in my consciousness produced a change in my reflection. This is the secret meaning behind the phrase, everyone is you pushed out. You are not dealing with people. You are dealing with states of consciousness wearing human form. Treat them as you would treat yourself, for in truth, they are yourself. So when you hand your lottery ticket to the cashier, see him as part of the flow of your own abundance. Do not think of him as an obstacle or a stranger, but as a messenger of the fulfillment already on its way. Silently bless him. Say within, I see him blessed, and I am blessed. When you receive change from his hand, feel gratitude, not for the coins or the notes, but for the invisible bond between you and all creation. For there is no transaction in this world that does not first occur within the mind. The beggar on the street, the banker behind the desk, the friend who speaks kindly, the critic who does not, each one plays the part you have assigned them through your assumption. And when you change the assumption, you change the play. I once told a student who struggled with resentment, stop trying to change others, see them differently instead. Lift them in your imagination to a higher state, and they will rise to meet you. He did so, and soon after, those same people began treating him with the respect he had long desired. When you begin to see others as blessed, your own blessings multiply. When you affirm for another, I see them blessed, I am blessed, you are not simply speaking kindness, you are acknowledging unity, and in unity, all good returns to its source. So I tell you, the world is yourself made visible. Every interaction is an opportunity to remind yourself of who you are. Do not curse the reflection when you can adjust the image. Do not demand that others change when the change must begin within. Silently, compassionately, walk through the world as one who knows that everyone you meet is a fragment of your own divine imagination. And when you bless them, you bless yourself. Remember, the cashier, the clerk, the stranger on the street, they are not in your way. They are the way. Each is a bridge upon which your assumption travels from the unseen into form. So from this moment on, speak silently of others only as you wish to be spoken of. See them as blessed, successful, joyful. And your own life will reflect that joy tenfold. I see them blessed, and I am blessed. Let that be your quiet prayer in every encounter. Now, my friend, let us enter the second ritual. This is not a ritual of words alone, but of feeling, the secret language of creation. In my years of teaching, I came to see that gratitude is the surest sign that a prayer has been answered. It is the emotion of fulfillment. You do not thank for what you lack. You thank because within you already possess. So tonight I will guide you to that place within yourself where gratitude rises naturally, not as effort, but as truth. Sit comfortably or lie down if you prefer. Let your body grow heavy and relaxed. The breath is easy, gentle, rhythmic. Inhale slowly and exhale even slower, as though releasing the last trace of tension from your body. Now bring to mind something you once desired deeply, something that has already come to pass. Remember that sweet moment when it arrived. Can you recall the wave of relief that followed? That little laugh you gave to yourself, the sense that everything finally had fallen into place. That is the feeling we seek. Not hope, not strain, but relief. The gentle laughter of completion. Now imagine, just for this moment, that the thing you seek now has already arrived. The letter has come. The call has been received. The door has opened. And you are standing in the afterglow of victory. Let the body react as it naturally would. Perhaps you smile. Perhaps you laugh softly. Perhaps your hands tremble. That small shiver of triumph that always comes when the impossible becomes real. Let it happen. Let the emotion move through you. Not forced, not planned, but genuine, spontaneous. Now, with that feeling alive within you, speak the words softly in your heart, the same words that sealed every one of my own miracles. It is already done. Thank you. Say them as though you are closing a letter to the divine. No pleading, no asking, just the calm certainty that it is complete. Again, it is already done. Thank you. Feel how those words vibrate in your chest. They carry both power and peace, the strength of finality and the stillness that follows it. Stay here a little while longer. Do not reach forward. Do not look back. Just breathe and let gratitude do what imagination began. For gratitude is the seal upon every act of creation. It tells the universe, the work is finished. Now rest in this quiet. Feel the warmth in your heart, the softness in your breath. You have spoken your command, and it has been heard. When you open your eyes, carry this peace with you. Let it be your secret sign that all is unfolding exactly as it should. For the one who feels gratitude before seeing is the one who soon shall see. And so we end this ritual with the words that complete all things. It is already done. Thank you. Now that you have spoken your word and sealed it with gratitude, the law begins its silent work. But here lies the test of true understanding, to allow the unseen to unfold in its own perfect rhythm. This is what I have long called the bridge of incidents. You see, once a state has been assumed, life must rearrange itself to express it, and it will, inevitably, faithfully, but not always, in the way your reason expects. The bridge of incidents is that delicate series of events that leads you from your present state to the fulfillment of your assumption. It may come through strange meetings, delays that turn into opportunities, what others would call coincidences. But I assure you, there are no coincidences. There is only law in motion. Many years ago, when I first began to live by this principle, I too fell into the trap of dictating how things should happen. I would declare my wish, and then, like an impatient director, I would try to arrange every actor and every scene. But life is the grand playwright, not I. The moment I released the need to control the how, everything moved with elegance and precision. So I tell you now, do not attempt to choose the path. You have already chosen the end. Leave the rest to the law. If you have declared that wealth is yours, do not limit the form it must take. It may arrive as a winning ticket, yes, but it may also come as an inheritance, a gift, an idea, an unexpected promotion, or a quiet opportunity that grows into abundance. The way is not your concern. Your concern is the state. Remain faithful to the feeling of fulfillment, and the bridge will appear beneath your feet. You will walk it without effort, sometimes unaware that you are walking it at all. You may find yourself drawn to a certain shop, meeting a certain person, reading a certain page in a forgotten book, each a step upon the bridge, and when at last your desire materializes, you will look back and see that every so-called accident was in truth divine precision. The law does not fail. It cannot fail. It only obeys the seed that was planted in consciousness. So what should you expect? Expect movement. Expect the world to shift in subtle ways. A word spoken, a letter sent, a sudden intuition that feels like a whisper from within. Do not call them signs. Call them confirmations, for they are proof that the law is alive within you. And remember, the bridge is never chaotic. It is perfect order disguised as chance. Every delay, every redirection is not a denial, but a refinement. A quiet adjustment, ensuring that the outcome arrives in the best possible way. So when the world seems still, be still yourself. When nothing appears to move, know that movement is taking place in the unseen. The roots are growing before the blossom appears. Do not tug at the process. Do not demand that the bridge reveal itself all at once. Step by step, stone by stone, you will cross it with faith. And when you reach the other side, when what you imagined has become tangible, you will smile to yourself and say, "Of course, it could not have happened any other way." This is the beauty of the law. It delivers not through struggle, but through orchestration, a harmony so precise, only the awakened can recognize it. So rest in the knowing that the bridge is already built. Walk it without fear, without hurry, without doubt. For the end is certain. It is already done. There comes a moment in every student's journey when they must ask themselves a most vital question. Who am I being? You see, manifestation is not about acquiring, it is about remembering. It is not the poor man striving to become rich, but the rich man awakening from the dream of poverty. The difference may sound subtle, but it is the line that separates struggle from mastery. When you approach your desire as one who lacks it, you affirm lack. You may repeat the words, you may visualize the scene, but the vibration within you still whispers, "I do not have." And the law, faithful as ever, returns that truth to you. But when you shift identity, when you begin to feel yourself as already having, as already being, everything changes. The outer world, being but a mirror, cannot help but adjust itself to the new conception you hold of self. So I ask you, are you acting as the one who is waiting to be wealthy, or as the one who is wealth itself? The rich man does not hope for prosperity, he assumes it. He walks with quiet ease, he speaks without hurry. He gives freely, not to prove abundance, but because abundance is his natural state. When you enter a shop, when you pay a bill, when you sit in silence, notice your inner posture. Is it the posture of one trying to reach, or the stillness of one who already possesses? Years ago, when I was still learning these laws, I would sometimes find myself slipping back into the consciousness of the struggler, the man who believed he must earn his blessings. And in those moments, life would mirror that belief perfectly. Opportunities would slow, money would seem to vanish, and I would wonder what had gone wrong. But nothing had gone wrong. I had simply returned to a lesser state. So I learned to correct it quickly, not by force, but by remembrance. I would close my eyes and say softly within, "I remember who I am." And then I would recall the feeling, the peace, the certainty, the gentle power of the one who knows that all is already his. In that moment, my breath would steady, my shoulders would relax, and I could almost hear the hum of abundance moving quietly around me. That is the invisible conduct of the winner. Not loud, not boastful, but certain. He does not check, he does not chase, he does not compare. He moves through life as one who expects the best, because he knows he is the best version of himself already. This invisible conduct is felt by the world. Others respond to it without knowing why. Doors open, invitations appear, hands reach out to help, not because of effort, but because of alignment. Remember always, you cannot attract wealth by being poor in consciousness. You must be wealth in feeling. First, you must walk, speak, breathe, and decide as one who is already there. Do not pretend. Embody. Pretending is shallow, but embodiment is truth. So tonight, before sleep, instead of asking for riches, affirm your identity as the one who already has them. Say quietly, "I am the wealth I once sought," and then rest in that feeling. Let it carry you into dreams. For when you wake, the world will begin to reshape itself in the image of that conviction. The poor man strives and struggles. The rich man remembers and allows. Choose remembrance, for you are not becoming anything new. You are merely recalling what has been true of you since the beginning. And now I will give you the visualization that activates, to the utmost, the power of these 4 words. Take this as a living drama you enter with your whole attention. I shall speak to you as I have spoken to thousands from the platform and the parlor. in years when telegrams still arrived on crisp paper and clerks kept their ledgers by hand. Let imagination become the room, the actors the light. Let the scene be brief in structure and rich in feeling. And remember, throughout this journey, hold the quiet knowing that under every image runs the current of your decree. It is already done. You are in a familiar room, your room, end of a long day. The lamp on the table casts a warm circle upon letters and a modest stack of papers. The street outside hums softly with the last wheels on cobblestone. A clock, you know the sound, marks a steady measure, not to hurry you but to reassure you that everything moves in its appointed rhythm. You are not waiting for a miracle as if it were lost in a distant sky. You are recognizing that what you have decreed within has already taken shape, and your world is about to confess it. See, before you, a small arrangement that naturally belongs to the life you prefer, an envelope addressed in a neat, decisive hand, a folded notice, the corner of a bank book, a newspaper marked not with inked fingers of anxiety, but with the quiet pride of one who reads good news and finds his name living between the lines. None of this is forced. It is ordinary. So ordinary that you smile, because only the extraordinary requires strain. Truth never strains. You reach for the envelope, not as a stranger guessing at fate, but as one who knows the contents. You already know, because you rehearsed this end long before the first step appeared. The paper yields beneath your fingers with that soft resistance of fine stationery, and there is a weight to it, not heavy, but certain, like a coin in the palm that tells you by its very coolness, I am real. You open it, you glance, not to confirm, but to savor the inevitable, and your eyes settle on a line, a figure, a signature, that answers your inner decree with the obedience of a well-trained instrument. The words you once spoke in silence now return to you in print. You lay the paper down and feel that quiet wave relief married to gratitude, a warmth that spreads through the chest and loosens the forehead. Let that warmth deepen, not loud or theatrical, but steady, like embers that glow without crackling. You do not say, at last, with desperation. You say, of course, with gentle certainty. A laugh comes, perhaps the kind that escapes before it asks permission. It is the laughter of one who has returned home and found the lamp already lit. The door knocks, not a surprise, but a punctuation mark, and a friend steps in. Coat folded over the arm, hat in hand. He looks at you and reads your face the way old friends do. Well, he asks, like a man who has been waiting to be included in a joy he already expects. You don't perform the news, you live it. It's all arranged, you say, and you allow him to see the paper, the figure, the sign. He clasps your shoulder with that firm, friendly squeeze that says, I knew it. He does not envy. He recognizes, for everything in this world is yourself pushed out, and he is simply the mirror you have polished with your inner word. Now let the scene widen by a degree. You and your friend walk down the steps to the evening air. The street smells faintly of rain that will not come, and the sky is a velvet blue spilling into lamplight. You pass the grocer with his awning rolled half down, the tailor putting a final stitch in a jacket on the form, the newspaper boy with ink on his thumb. Each face you meet seems to lean toward you with the unspoken acknowledgement. Well met, winner. They do not say it aloud, for this is not a parade, but a recognition woven into the weave of an ordinary night. You realize how natural it feels. This ease, this grace, as if the stones in the path were set by your steps, long before you reached them. Turn the corner and step into the bank. The lobby is nearly empty. The day's ledger is being closed, lamps shaded low. The clerk looks up with the kindly formality of a man whose profession is regularity. He greets you by name. This too is important, not the humility of erasing yourself, nor the vanity of inflating yourself, but the simple truth of being seen as you know yourself to be. You present the paper, and he receives it without fanfare. His pen scratches. His stamp descends with that soft official certainty The numbers travel from paper to book to your lived world. He slides the book back to you, ink still wet, the figure glistening for a heartbeat before it settles. You do not stare. You let your eyes rest on it the way one rests, a hand on a familiar shoulder. The clerk says, "Everything in order, sir." And you answer with a smile that is the opposite of surprise. It is the smile of alignment. Now let an inward voice speak, not the voice of doubt, not the rabbit's heartbeat of nervous calculation, but the deep, measured tone that has always told you the truth. This is your natural estate. Hear it again, calm and unhurried. This is your natural estate. The words are not a boast, they are a remembrance. Poverty is forgetting. Abundance is recollection. You are not a poor man, struggling to be rich. You are wealth itself, remembering its name. Return now to the room where you began. Set the bankbook down. Set the envelope on top of the newspaper. Place upon them that small sign of ownership, your hand. Feel the warmth of your own skin through the stack. The table accepts the gesture like an altar receiving an offering, not from a petitioner, but from a priest. Attend to the little sounds that belong to the world when it is at peace with you. The clock's steady promise, the faint ring of a streetcar turning at the corner, a kettle coming to a thoughtful murmur in a neighbor's kitchen. All these sounds say, in their own language, yes, now let the panorama unfold, not forward into anxiety, but outward into richness. See bills that once demanded attention, now stamped paid in full, not red with threat, but blue with blessing. See an open ledger of your life, with the lines balanced, the columns friendly, the totals speaking of margin rather than limit. See letters that arrive not to collect, but to congratulate, to invite, to propose new ventures that fit your nature the way a tailored coat fits your shoulders. Feel the sudden ease with which you extend generosity to family, to the friend who knocked, to the young boy who sells the evening edition, to causes that lift the human heart. You give without performance, you give as if it were the most ordinary response to life, because it is. The truly wealthy never tense when they open their hands. Now picture the day that follows. You meet the world with a gait that is unhurried but decisive. When a problem speaks, you do not shrink. You listen for the shape of the solution that is already yours. When a new opportunity appears, you do not lunge. You stand where you are and allow it to come within the reach of your natural arm. In every exchange, in the baker's shop at the post, by the counter where a clerk wraps a parcel, you meet eyes, and something unspoken passes. I see you blessed. I am blessed. You do not force this benediction. It flows as naturally as afternoon light crossing a floor. Let us visit one small golden moment, the telephone on the little table by the window. It rings. You lift the receiver. A voice you respect, measured and warm, speaks your name and then says precisely what you have long felt to be true. I wish to be the first to tell you, congratulations. Let the phrase arrive, not as a shock, but as a key turning a well-oiled lock. You hear the words, you allow them to settle in the place that has been prepared for them for weeks, for months, perhaps for years, that inner room where every chair is placed just so. Because you expected this guest, you say thank you, not thinly, but richly. And when you replace the receiver, your hand lingers for a moment, palm warm against the polished wood, as if to bless the instrument that carried the outer echo of your inner decree. And now, let your attention gather around the four words that have been the quiet motor beneath every image. It is already done. These words are not a petition. They are not a charm to coax a reluctant fate. They are the verdict of the only court that matters, your consciousness. Hear them, not as a shout, but as a foundation tone that hums beneath every hour of your day. They do not strain, they sustain. They do not argue, they accomplish. Each time your mind offers a meager arithmetic of how and when, let the deeper arithmetic answer with the ease of a smile. It is already done. In this light, look again at the route by which this outcome has reached you. Notice how it refuses to be bound by your smaller plans. There were so many possible channels, A prize disbursed, a legacy recalled, a business partner arriving by a friend of a friend's letter, a contract corrected in your favor, a mistakenly delayed payment suddenly released, a new station offered that fits your talent better than the one you once begged for. All these constitute the bridge of incidents, a bridge you did not build by effort. It rose to meet your stride the instant you walked in the end. You did not dictate the planks and bolts, you chose the far shore. Let yourself nod inwardly to the unseen wisdom that arranged it. That wisdom is not foreign to you. It is your own imagination, faithfully serving the image you honored. Whatever memory used to whisper bad luck, let us turn to it gently, as one corrects the record with a pen and a steady hand. There was a time you told a story that turned against you. We revise it now. Choose one such scene, a drawing that favored another, a letter that never came, a conversation you recall as dismissal. Bring it into the room, not to relive its sting, but to rewrite its meaning. See the clerk look up with a friendlier light in his eyes. Hear the sentence that once shut a door. Now swing it wide. Find in the place where your name was missing that it is printed boldly exactly where it belongs. Don't force the film forward. Replace the frame. And let the corrected scene take root until it feels inevitable. You will soon discover that the present rearranges itself as if it always remembered the new past. Now imagine how you share this new estate without draining it. You are careful with words, not as a fearful miser is careful with coins, but as a master is careful with tools. When asked, you answer plainly, with the calm simplicity of one who knows law. You do not proselytize, you witness. You tell one true story in a handful of sentences. I accepted the end, I kept it simple. I let life arrange the steps, and when you have said this, you return to living. For living is the true sermon. Those who wish to learn will find your door. Those who do not will still be touched by your quiet blessing as they pass. Let us allow the scene to gather a subtle crescendo. You walk once more past the bank. The manager, who knows a great many faces but very few names, nods toward you with unmistakable recognition. A boy runs past laughing, his cap nearly flying. Two women speak in gentle tones near a milliner's display, and their laughter drifts on the air, light and clean. A carriage wheel splashes a small puddle left in the gutter from yesterday's cleaning, and the drops glitter for a moment in the low sun. Everything is as it should be, because you are as you should be, aligned, unhurried, certain. Step into a quiet shop, perhaps the stationer, where fine paper is kept in drawers lined with blue tissue. The proprietor greets you in the restrained way of a man who values private joys. You choose new paper, not because the old will not do, but because a new chapter prefers fresh pages. When you pay, you do so easily, and you notice the beauty of the coins themselves, the weight, the sound as they meet the wood, the way the light catches their edges. Money is not a tyrant here. It is a well-mannered servant, and you treat it accordingly, with respect, without reverence. Back in your room, you set the new paper down, and write a brief note. Not a public declaration, not a trumpet blast, just a few lines of gratitude to the invisible order that never fails. Everything unfolded perfectly. I received in the exact measure of my acceptance. Thank you. You sign your name with the same steadiness that stamped the book at the bank. And in that moment, you feel a deep consonance between the name you sign and the nature you are. There is no split. There is no strain. Now linger with the simplest, most decisive identity statement, the one that first shocked and then liberated you. I am the winner, not merely of a prize in an hour, but of the state from which all prizes are born. Say it inwardly with the same tone you would use to say your name, or to say I am here, and feel the way the room agrees, the way the table, the letter, the book, the lamplight, the very air, takes its places as supporting actors in a play whose lead has at last arrived on stage. You do not strut, you do not shrink, you inhabit. Extend this identity to the places where you once wavered. See yourself entering a conversation that used to tighten your throat. Now it opens like a gate. See yourself reviewing a ledger that used to make your heart race. Now it reads like a story with a happy middle and a happier end. See yourself receiving a proposal. You neither grasp nor defer. You weigh it from the high ground of sufficiency and choose only what harmonizes with your nature. This is what wealth does in the wise. It clarifies. Let us collect gently the tokens of this evening. The envelope, the ledger, the note you wrote, the newspaper folded with the crease of a finger that lingers on the word congratulations, the bank book with its fresh ink, the telephone that once carried the voice, the hat your friend set on the chair and forgot, then remembered with a laugh as he reclaimed it. These are not idols. They are sacraments, outward signs of an inward grace. And as you look upon them, let a phrase rise of its own accord. Soft, genuine content. Thank you. Not because you are fearful, you might lose it without a ritual, but because gratitude is the perfume of possession. Those who truly have are grateful with the ease of breathing. Now, as the day settles, let that foundational decree hum once more beneath everything. It is already done. Let it echo through the hallway, nest in the rim of the lamp, slide into the binding of the book on the shelf, thread itself through the ticking of the clock. Let it pass over the city, over the tailor locking his door, the clerk balancing his drawer, the boy folding the last bundle of papers, the woman setting a clean cup on a saucer for morning, until everything within earshot of your life seems to be mouthing the same phrase in a secret chorus. It is already done. Turn your attention now from the scene to the state. The scene may change, the state endures. Wealth, as a state, feels like room in the lungs, ease in the shoulders, time enough in the day. Wealth feels like the confidence to decline the unsuitable without fear, and to accept the good without guilt. Wealth feels like the soft click of doors opening just before you reach them. If ever a future hour tries to masquerade as a problem, you will meet it not with the panic that asks, "How shall I survive?" but with the poise that asks, "Which door belongs to me?" This is the conduct of the winner, invisible to others perhaps, but unmistakable to you. Finally, let one last visit occur, a quiet return to the bank, to the clerk, to the stamp. Let him, without being asked, say the sentence that gathers your story into a single chord. Everything remains in excellent order. You nod. You do not linger. You step into the evening, and the air greets you with that slight coolness that always comes when day is perfectly done. The lamps are lit. Windows glow with the life of families. Somewhere a piano is being played, someone practicing scales, attentive but unhurried, and the regular ascent and descent of those notes remind you that mastery is repetition eased by love. So you carry your mastery into the ordinary, the buttoning of a coat, the turning of a key, the placing of a book back where it belongs. You do not need omens. The world itself is your sign. It answers you because you have spoken first. That is the law. Imagination precedes fact. Assumption clothes itself in events. The cause is within, and the effect is obedient. Hold this all within you now, not as a performance to be maintained by effort, but as a simple recognition that requires nothing but your consent. You have lived the end. You have allowed the bridge to rise. You have let the world bring you what you already are. And so, the words that seal without striving are these, whispered not to persuade but to acknowledge. And now I will give you testimonies of men and women who activated, to the utmost, the power of these 4 words, and it worked. I will not present them as dry records, but as living scenes you can step into so that their certainty becomes your own. Walk with me through each room, each letter, each handshake. Hear the sentences as they were spoken. See the ink, the ledgers, the quiet nods of recognition. Let their proofs become mirrors for your own decree. It is already done. First, a modest flat above a tobacconist on the corner of a busy street. The hour is late afternoon. Sunlight slants across a small writing desk. On that desk, an old fountain pen, a cup with 2 coins, and a folded slip from the local drawing office. A seamstress named Clara stands beside the chair. not as a supplicant, but as one who has already taken possession within. For weeks she carried a simple scene, a friend pressing her hands and saying, "Clara, you did it." Nothing elaborate, just that phrase. The warmth of the palms, the soft tremor of joy resting under the ribs. She never argued with the world. She simply returned to the end and let it color her days. Now the scene opens. The doorknob turns. In comes her friend, hat a little crooked from walking briskly, cheeks pink with excitement. He does not sit. He stands in the doorway, completing the picture she herself began. "Clara," he says, only her name at first, as if the rest of the sentence were a bird about to take flight. Then it comes, "You did it." He takes her hands, the exact pressure, the exact warmth. She does not cry out, she smiles. A smile one reserves for the inevitable. On the desk, the folded slip is opened. The figures align. A small windfall, exactly enough to retire her debt and purchase the new machine she had traced with her gaze in the shop window for months. She told me later, "Neville, the words were spoken to me precisely as I had heard them inwardly." And I answered, "Of course. The outer world has no choice but to repeat the inner decree." Next, a bookkeeper named Samuel in a narrow office above a printer, where the walls smell faintly of ink and hot metal. He had cultivated a habit of anxious checking, columns, ledgers, totals, until his mind became a tally of what was missing. I asked him to replace the habit with a scene no longer than a sentence. His employer closing a ledger with a satisfied hand and saying, "Well done, Samuel. The increase is yours." Night after night, he took this single frame and let it become natural. Nothing else. He did not command the means. He accepted the end. Now step into his office with me. It is near closing. The city is cooling. The employer appears, coat unbuttoned, as men do when the day's work is nearly finished. He takes up the ledger, Samuel's careful work, and turns a page with his thumb. The sound is quiet, but unmistakable. That soft rasp of paper on paper. Then the sentence, in the exact tone Samuel had bestowed upon it. "Well done, Samuel. The increase is yours." No trumpet, no drama, just the stamp of reality. A week later, his pay is raised. A month later, he is moved to a broader desk by a window that overlooks the square. He told me, "I tried nothing but the sentence." I said, "The sentence was everything, for it carried the state." Here is a widow, Mrs. Avery, who had lost a letter that was meant to carry a small inheritance from a distant cousin. She had spent weeks muttering, "Such is my luck," as if bad fortune were a coat she was condemned to wear. I asked her to revise, not the future first, but the past. "Return to the post," I said, "and alter the clerk's face. See him look up and say, 'Ah, Mrs. Avery, I've been meaning to call you. Your letter is here.'" She did. She rehearsed a new memory until it sat comfortably in her mind. One morning she walks into the post as naturally as a woman steps into her kitchen. The clerk, ruddy, slightly stooped, looks up with a brightness not seen in weeks. "Ah, Mrs. Avery," he says, exactly as she'd written the line across time. "I've been meaning to call you. Your letter is here." He produces it from beneath the blotter, as if the envelope had been lying in wait for her courage to return. It contains not a fortune, but a sufficiency, a gentle tide that lifts the month and brings rest to her nights. She told me. I felt, as I held it, that the past had slipped into place. I told her only the inner acceptance was late. "The letter has been yours since the moment you decided it." Consider a tradesman, a cobbler named Benson, whose tiny shop stood between a greengrocer and a stationer. His hands were good. His spirit was tired. He wished for more customers, then scolded himself for wishing. I asked him to assume one scene only, the bell over his door, sounding with an easy frequency, and a familiar voice remarking, "Busy today, Mr. Benson." He did not imagine piles of coins or grand expansions. He imagined the ordinary mark of plenty, the sound of a bell and the sentence of a regular. You may stand with him now behind the counter. The morning light is clean. Leather is neatly stacked. Laces hung. The bell rings. It is not loud, but it is cheerful. A man enters with the cracked sole of a boot, then another, collecting a finished pair. The bell rings again. A woman brings her son to be fitted. At noon, a neighbor steps in for a chat and looks around at the modest bustle. Busy today, Mr. Benson. There it is, the line he planted. Money follows service naturally. Service follows state. State follows assumption. In 3 months, the shop pays off its small loan. In 6 months, he hires a lad to help on Saturdays. He writes me, not in grand phrases, but with 5 modest words at the bottom of his note. The bell keeps its promise. Another scene, a young pianist, Margaret, not rich in money yet wealthy in hours at the keys. She desired a commission, not for vanity, but for bread. Instead of clutching at names and knocking at doors with a desperate knuckle, she fashioned a scene, the director of a small theater pressing her hand and saying, "We would be honored if you would score our new production." She gave it a place by the side door after rehearsal, and a feeling the pleasant fatigue of work well done. "Now take your place by that door." The hallway smells of paint and dust. The director emerges, jacket over shoulder, tie loosened. He does not announce. He invites, "Miss Margaret, we would be honored if you would score our new production." Her heart does not leap into her throat. It settles into its proper chair. Months later, I sit in the audience of a modest house and hear her themes lifting lines into life. In the program, her name is printed plainly, as names should be. She told me, I lived it first in 10 seconds, again and again until 10 seconds became an hour. I answered, that is the arithmetic of creation. We will cross now to a family parlor, where a father, Mr. Keen, sits with a stack of bills and the quiet dread that grows heavier after supper. He asked me for a way out. I told him to stamp one phrase across the ledger of his mind, paid in full, not as an argument, but as a label that belongs there. He looked at me as if I'd asked him to fly, but he agreed to try. Picture him now writing that phrase in his mind, line by stubborn line, until it feels less like audacity and more like tidiness. Days later, a forgotten account is reconciled in his favor. A delayed payment from a client arrives without apology, but with interest. An uncle recalls a debt of gratitude and returns it in currency. None of these are miracles to the law. They are simply the nearest doors opening once the house inside is put in order. One evening he takes a rubber stamp. He purchased it on a whim from the stationer and presses it onto a bill that is in fact paid in full. The satisfaction is not only financial, it is ontological. He has replaced identity from man pursued by figures to man who numbers obey. Here is a story of delay reinterpreted. A clerk named Edith had set her heart upon a promotion. She fashioned a neat scene, the manager shaking her hand and saying, "It is yours." The day arrived, and the place was given to another. She felt the old reflex to call the law a liar. Instead, she wrote me, and I told her, keep the end, release the rote. She did. 2 months later, the company opened a new department, larger, brighter, with better hours, and the manager said the precise sentence she had prepared. She told me the no was a bridge plank, not a cliff. I said, every plank fits when the span is fixed. A gentleman of letters, Mr. Dalloway, wished to see his novel in print, but had grown bitter. He mocked his own pages to protect himself from disappointment. I asked him to amend one thing only. The moment he opens a parcel and lifts out his book with the publisher's crest upon the spine. He did not imagine applause or reviews. He imagined the simple weight of the object, the smell of ink, the creak of the first opening. Be present now, as the post brings a brown paper parcel, tied with string. The knot is awkward. He cuts it with a penknife. The paper parts, the cloth shows. His name is stamped in gold leaf, with an economy that feels like respect. He sets it on the table, and places his palm upon it for a second, as he once saw his father do with the first crate of apples from a new orchard. He writes me, I felt it real, and it came. I reply, things enjoy belonging. Not all proofs wear the same coat. Consider Miss Falco, a school mistress who had never handled large sums and trembled at the idea. Her first decree was gentle, to be at ease with abundance. She constructed a scene of ordinary elegance, settling an account for new classroom supplies without scanning the figures twice. The shopkeeper, a sober man with spectacles, would say, "All in order, miss," and she would answer, "Quite right. Walk in with her now. The counter is clean, the ledger neat, the figures are indeed larger than she once thought fitting." She does not apologize. She does not boast. She lays down the notes, receives the change, and the sentence arrives on cue. "All in order, miss." She carries the parcels out with a lightness that is neither giddy nor grave. That night, at her small table, she writes a budget not from fear, but from preference. In 3 months, something unexpected occurs. A relative leaves her a tidy sum, with a note that reads simply, "You will make it do the most good." The law is endlessly resourceful, but always obedient. Finally, a man named O'Hara, prone to wagers and tails. Both. He came to me hoping to win a pool, and I cautioned him, "Choose wealth as a nature, not a number." He grudgingly agreed, and shaped a scene that could belong to any pathway. Old friends gathering around him, one clapping his back and saying, with pride rather than envy, "Fortune suits you." He repeated it with a private smile. Weeks later, it was not a pool, but a partnership that found him. A friend of a friend sought a steady hand in a small enterprise that turned out more substantial than any ticket. In a tavern booth of polished wood, under a gas lamp, the sentence he planted came to meet him. "Fortune suits you." He wrote me, "I aimed low and the law aimed high." I answered, "It always aims at your state, never your scheme." Take these scenes, not as someone else's chapters, but as rooms in your own house. Notice what they share: brevity of scene, richness of feeling, modest outer facts, concealing a complete inner surrender to the end. Not one of these people tried the law like a superstition. They lived a settled conclusion, again and again, until the world had to agree. So when you doubt, remember Clara's friend in the doorway. You did it. When you feel lost in arithmetic, remember Samuel's ledger closing with "The increase is yours." When the past accuses, remember Mrs. Avery's revised clerk. Your letter is here. When you want a proof in the small, remember Mr. Benson's bell, keeping its promise with every ring. When you require dignity, remember Miss Falco's "All in order, miss." When delay tempts you to sulk, remember Edith's brighter room. When pride whispers for spectacle, remember O'Hara's better enterprise, and the sentence that fit him like a suit, "Fortune suits you." Each scene carries the same signature beneath it, in the same steady ink. It is already done. Read it aloud in your heart. Let gratitude rise, not as a trick, but as the fragrance of having. And then, when you turn at last to your own table, your own ledger, your own door, you will find the world ready to speak back to you the very words you have taught it. For this is the quiet genius of the law. The outer world is a faithful stenographer. It takes dictation from your inner speech and returns it to you in events, forms, and faces. Shape your sentence, select your scene, honor the feeling, and allow life to echo what you have already declared. And now, my friend, before we part, let me leave you with this reminder, one that has carried me through every season of my life. You do not beg for luck. You create through law. You are not a wanderer, hoping the winds will turn in your favor. You are the wind itself, the breath that moves the world. When you understand this, truly, you cease to plead and begin to declare. You no longer look outside for signs or permission. You turn inward, and from that still, sacred place within, you speak the words of power. It is already done. For you are not a beggar of circumstance. You are the cause behind every effect, the architect behind every appearance, the dreamer who dreams and then awakens inside his own dream. So do not wait for fortune to favor you. Realize that fortune is your servant, an obedient reflection of your inner conviction. When you rise from this moment, rise as one who remembers. Walk through your days as though the miracle is already unfolding, because it is. Every word you have spoken tonight, every image you have held in imagination, has been impressed upon the unseen, and the unseen never forgets. It answers in its own perfect time. So go now with quiet certainty. Do not chase, do not grasp, simply know. And when doubt attempts to return, close your eyes and whisper once more, it is already done. Thank you. Let these words be your companions through the week ahead. Return to this message for 7 nights. Each night sink deeper into the knowing. Let repetition become remembrance, and remembrance become realization. For the law is faithful, and what you assume tonight, you shall live tomorrow. You do not mend your luck. You do not wait for favor. You are the cause, the infinite creative power expressing through man. And so, I leave you with this truth, as I have spoken it many times before. You are not becoming divine. You are divine. And the moment you accept this, the world bends to your word. It is already done. Thank you.